Happy Monday, everybody. Here we are for our Monday live stream. We missed the last one, and so I was definitely not going to let today's Monday live stream go by. I see we've got some folks on locals, and oh, yeah, got a few folks on locals. How's everybody doing? Let's make sure that the microphone's working and the video camera's working and all that. I got some good things to talk about today. Wanted to catch up and see what's on everybody's mind that maybe we could talk about. Um, and as always, the first half will be open to everybody, and then the second half is for locals only, the locals only crowd. So, how's everybody doing? How was your week? Was your weekend? Tell me what you've been into. Y'all got your coffee, tea? Adele seems like Adele can hear me, Carrie. So maybe if you can't hear me, go out, close down, and then come back in and see if that corrects the problem on your end. Let me see if I can. Uh, Adele, type that to her if you don't mind, to Carrie, because if she can't hear me, she couldn't hear me say that. Okay, good. All right, so we've got sound, we got video, and good. Uh, Adele says it's been a hello of a week. Yeah, you've moved recently, back home, back to your home country. Is it difficult not uh, speaking in French by default now that you're back in Ireland? Oh, Julie, quiet weekend, which was appreciated. Oh yeah, quiet weekends are so nice. And because it's summer, or we're coming into summer, I've got people inviting me to 900 different things. And maybe we could talk about that for a second. Because they because I'm getting invited to 900 different things, my weekends are getting filled up, and I'm the type of person who needs some time to myself from time to time. And what I know about myself is that if all of my weekends get filled up, eventually I'm going to start feeling resentful. I'm going to start feeling resentful that my weekends are going to other people and I'm not getting any for myself. So, knowing that about myself, what can I do? We're going to talk about this a little bit today. This is a kind of a thing I wanted to talk about, these mental prisons that we create around ourselves. I might say, well, I've already agreed to these obligations for like the next 3, 4 weekends. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck and I have to do these things. Just remind yourself all the time, you don't have to do anything. Nobody can make you do anything. So what I'll do is I'll say, what's reasonable for me as far as like filling up my weekends? Like, where's my limit? What am I okay with? What am I not okay with? And then what I'll do is I'll call up a couple of people and I'll say, I know that I agreed to this thing on this weekend, but my schedule is filled up and I just need some days off. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel with you. Maybe we can come up with some other plans on another time. And that's what I'll do. I clear up my schedule with the thinking that I don't have to do anything. Remember this phrase, this meme that I put out not too long ago, that anxiety, and this probably would apply to a lot of things, not just anxiety, but a lot of the anxiety that we experience as people is a result of us holding ourselves to expectations that we don't have to hold ourselves to. We ourselves are creating most of those expectations and those limits. So just break free of it. Remind yourself, I don't have to do anything. And if this is robbing me of my peace and contentment, it's going to end in frustration or resentment. Why don't I just not do that? So I call, cancel a few events that I had agreed to. Let me catch up to you guys here. Adele says it's great speaking in English. So you don't walk up to people at the store or anything like that, and just from being accustomed to speaking in French so much in France, you don't accidentally say hello or things like that in French. So you're still moving back and forth from Ireland to France. Okay. Hi, David. Good to have you here. David on Locals. We were just talking about this idea that a lot of anxiety comes from us holding ourselves to expectations that we don't have to hold ourselves to. Adele says she does accidentally say greetings in French or whatever. I drive a Jeep Wrangler, and it's customary when you pass another Jeep Wrangler to give a greeting. I'm so used to people waving at me, like people in other Jeep Wranglers coming by waving at me and me doing this, that even if I'm not in my Wrangler, if I'm driving a different vehicle, I still end up doing that every time a Jeep passes. It's just kind of like that routine. Adele says she's just cut ties with her mother. I feel free. She's a bad person. Yeah, that'll come into our conversation a little bit today too. But let's talk about mental prisons. A lot of times when I talk to people and I say, what I did when I was trying to get healthy and I was trying to get free of my emotional disorder, which is just attitudes and thinking, right? I looked around in my life at the influences in my life. They're called influences for a reason. They influence you into ways of thinking and behaving and these sorts of things that you wouldn't naturally do, perhaps on your own. And becoming healthy, because it involves escaping a way of thinking and certain attitudes, is already difficult. So when I looked at my life, I said, what is a practical thing I can do to that will contribute to my efforts to escape certain forms of unhealthy thinking and adopt new ones? And one of the things that I chose to do was cut off influences. So that involved a lot of family. Not just my parents, it involved cousins and uncles and aunts, and I just cut off contact with a lot of them. Now, when I say to people that you have to be willing, well, let's put it this way. Emotional health involves creating an environment that is healthy for you to live in. How do you do that? Well, a big part of that is deciding who gets in and who doesn't. When I tell people that, a lot of them say, okay, that makes perfect sense. But then when they consider like maybe cutting their mother out of their life, they say, well, I can't do that. I can't do that because she's my mother. Or my sister. Or how about this? How about foregoing Christmas parties and birthdays? I see a person says, well, I can't do that. I have to go to that birthday party. I can't not go to the birthday party. Who's creating the expectation? Is it the person who's having the birthday? No, remember, you don't have to do anything. So get in the habit of thinking outside of your mental prison, which involves a lot of identifying what mental prisons have I built around myself. For some people, it's unthinkable not to travel and meet up with family on Christmas. But do you have to do that? No, it's just an expectation you're holding your own self to. Get used to breaking free of the mental prison, saying, okay, I feel the obligation to. Now, Brian Barnett says that I'm the person creating that expectation. Well, let's think up some alternative. Let's think outside the box here. What are some other things besides going to this Christmas party or being there at Christmas that I could do that I feel is important? Like time around certain family or whatever. But not time around the family you don't want to spend time with. You got to think outside the box. You got to break free of the mental prisons. Everything you think you have to do, almost everything you think you have to do, is simply an expectation you have conjured and that now you're holding yourself to. You're creating the reasons why you have to do it in your head. But there's no police force out there who's going to swoop in and fine you or throw you in jail if you just don't do that thing, right? This is what I'm talking about, these expectations we create on our own selves. But they're all in the imagination. And I'll tell you, what is at the root of emotional disorders and emotional unhealth? It's an improper attitude about the value of what other people think, right? Everything is based on what other people think. All value comes from what other people think. This is the very foundation of the emotionally unhealthy view of life, the perspectives that unhealthy people live with. And now think about the origin of many of the expectations you do create for yourself. What are they based on? Let me ask you this. Why do you have to be at the Christmas party? Is it because you love being around Uncle Tommy? Or is the expectation being born of you worrying about what Uncle Tommy will think if you're not there? Something to think about, right? How about the birthday party? Why are you holding yourself to the expectation to be at a birthday party where maybe there's going to be a bunch of unhealthy people and unhealthy environment? What is provoking you to create such an expectation for yourself? Is it the fact that you just really want to enjoy time with the birthday boy or the birthday girl? Or are you primarily creating that expectation for yourself based on the worry of what people will think if you're not there? Two forms of thinking. The healthy form of thinking is what people think does not matter in that way. So think about it. If you're walking around with the attitude that what people think doesn't matter that way, is your life being determined, your life decisions, your schedule, is everything you do, is that being affected by what you imagine other people think? The answer is no. But what if you're unhealthy? What if you're unhealthy and you have an improper view of the value of what other people think? Then, is your entire life being determined by what you imagine other people think? Yes. You're a slave. You're not even living your life. You're living, you are constrained and directed in all things by what you imagine other people think. So emotional unhealth is completely directed and driven in all things by what one imagines other people will think or do think. Emotional health does not care what people think in that way. Now let's talk about, I might have talked about this in the last live stream or here recently. Does it mean that when you get healthy, that you view what people think as having no value? The answer is no. So I don't look around and think that what people think has no value. That's why my wording up until now has been that it doesn't have value in that way. In what way? Well, in the way that it determines what I should do or don't do, or the decisions that I should make for myself. See, it doesn't have value in that way. But in what way does it have value? It's interesting that when you get emotionally healthy, being emotionally healthy inherently means viewing people's feelings and thoughts and themselves as individuals with great value. You I, for example, when I'm thinking about what you guys think, it has great value to me. But it does not have great value to me in the sense that I care what you think about me. Like, let's put it this way. I do not view what you folks think as reflecting anything important about my value. So in that sense, whether you like me, whether you hate me, whether you like this shirt, whether you hate this shirt, whether you think that I could do this a lot better or you think that I'm doing it fine, does not matter to me at all as far as how I feel about myself, whether I'm happy with the way I'm presenting this information, whether or not I'm happy with the way I look on camera. It doesn't matter to me in that way. So in what way does it matter? It matters because I'm interested in you, and what you think reveals a lot about you. And those are the two distinct ways of thinking. Well, let's put it this way. Those are the two distinct ways of valuing what other people think. So another way to say it is this. I used to care what people think because of what I thought it meant about me. Now I care about what people think because of what it tells me about you. And that might be worth writing down and thinking about long and hard. Think about walking about in life where you don't care if somebody is standing across the store looking at you in a judgmental way. You don't care because what they think doesn't matter to you, doesn't have any value in that way. But you're interested in people as individuals. And the only way you get to know somebody as an individual is by knowing what they think, what they feel, and those sorts of things. You see, a healthy person is naturally very interested in people as individuals and respects people as individuals because they're viewing people correctly as individuals. What you think is important, so important, and what you feel is so important because it reveals all this stuff about you. But it's not important as far as revealing things about me or defining things about me. Like, right? Am I awesome or am I not awesome? Well, you don't get to determine that. It doesn't matter whether you think I'm awesome or not. What matters is what do I think about me? That's what determines whether I think I'm awesome or not. And in my opinion, there is the only one that matters. Is Julie, Adele, David, Penny, are you guys awesome? Well, I hope you believe that about yourself, because your opinion on that matter is the only one that matters, unless you believe in God. His opinion does matter. But beyond that, your opinion is the most important one with anything involving you. Your peace comes from your contentment with yourself. You see, it does not come from somebody else's contentment with you. Like, I don't get to experience inner peace and contentment because Adele thinks I'm great. See, think about that. You get people who are worshipped. They're movie stars or musicians or whatever. And what do they end up doing? They end up killing themselves. Why? Why is it that a million people worshiping them and thinking they're the most awesome thing since sliced bread did not bring them contentment? Because if it doesn't matter how many people think you're awesome if you don't think it yourself. That's why. Now does it begin to make sense why only my attitudes toward myself matter? How I feel about myself is the only opinion that matters about me. The same as for you and you and you and you and you. So I don't know how I got on. I wasn't intending to talk about all that, but I guess because I was talking about mental prisons, right? The mental prison that what you think matters in a way that it doesn't. It's not that it doesn't matter. It's just that unhealthy people view what people think as mattering in a way that it doesn't. And they don't value it in the way that it does value it. They do not value it in the appropriate way. Instead, they value it in the inappropriate way. That's what creates the emotional unhealth. So, do you remember what the thing I came up with to determine, let's see, Adele says, after years of thinking that I was no good, useless, etc. Now I know I'm a good person, intelligent. I'm free. It is very liberating. It's a very liberating way of living. I remember when I was unhealthy, everything was determined by what I imagined other people think. The way I dress, right? I did not dress in the way that I most enjoyed. What did I do instead? I dressed in a way to try to impress other people. Like, what? I can't walk outside with this shirt because what will people think? You see, if that's your attitude on life, then it's this imaginary idea of what other people might think that you're basing every decision on and every approach to everything. So to break free of that, and now you don't view what people think as having that type of value, it's so liberating. Because now what happens when I get dressed? I get dressed because of what I like, not because of what I imagine other people might like or not like. It's funny, I went to a baseball game on Saturday, and I was so comfortable. I was walking around in these cargo pants and like a flannel, the way I dress, like a flannel shirt. And I was meeting some friends there. And they're like, what'd you do? You just climb out of the woods or something? Why are you dressed like that? Because this is comfortable for me. This is the way I want to dress. Of course, every time I go up to buy a hot dog or something at the hot dog stand in the ballpark, it's like thousands of people there. They're looking at me like, did this guy just like crawl off the farm to come to the city? I don't care. I'm comfortable. Take as long a look as you want to. I'm dressed for me, not for you. I am going to have to maybe look into getting a different camera. This one doesn't want to stay in focus. So here's a point I want to make. Be willing to make drastic adjustments. Oh, I know what I was getting ready to talk to. Do you remember how I determine whether a person can be a regular part of my life or not? Is it perfection? Do I look and say, okay, if you perfectly contribute to my emotional health and inner peace and contentment, then you can be a part of my life? No, that cannot be the measure that we hold people to. Why not? Because not even we meet that measurement. We will never meet that measurement. So what can it be then? And we can't just let anybody in, no matter how unhealthy they are or how much disruption they are to our lives. So where's the middle ground? Well, the teeter-totter. Remember the teeter-totter? Some people call them seesaws. We want to find balance in the middle. And the balance is this. A person simply has to contribute more greatly to our emotional health and inner peace and contentment. That's it. So if it's a teeter-totter, what they contribute to your life simply has to be tilted a little bit more in favor of emotional health, inner peace, and contentment. It doesn't have to be tilted all the way. That would be perfection. We don't expect that of people. But on the flip side, you say, well, who do I need to eliminate then? What influences do I need to eliminate from my life? Because they're contributing more greatly to my emotional unhealth, my unhappiness, my discontent. How do I identify them? Well, they're the ones where the teeter-totter, they bring some joy to your life. But more than they bring joy, they bring discontentment, frustration, drama, unhealth. You say, boy, it seems to be almost right on the line. But if I'm honest about it, Uncle Jimbo, as you know, he's got some great qualities. I love Uncle Jimbo. But if I'm being honest about it, most of the time I'm around him, more often than not, he brings drama into my life. He brings frustration. He brings disorder. So maybe I'm going to cut back quite a bit, dramatically, on his influence in my life. How do you do that? You do that by not going over to his house as much. You do that by not inviting him over to your house as much. And then there are cases where you say, no, this person brings so much discontentment and drama and disorder into my life that I want them out entirely. Are you willing to do that? I talk to so many people who say, I understand that. So they'll think of like people at work, people they graduated with, people, the neighbors, people at a certain location, like at a bar or something. They'll say, okay, yeah, I'll cut all them out. But when it comes to mom or cousin Betty, they say, well, I can't do that. That's not even a possibility. Why isn't it a possibility? Who's preventing them from doing that? And why? The answer is that they themselves are preventing themselves from doing it, probably because they have an emotional attachment to the person and they're not being honest about it. So they're not honestly identifying the bad influences because their feelings are tied up in the person. The second thing is, why are they holding themselves within that mental prison or that limitation that doesn't really exist? Because of worry about what? Because of worry about what how the family is going to react if you don't go to Aunt Sally's birthday party, or if you invited some people over to the house and Aunt Sally wasn't invited also. You see, worry about what people think in an inappropriate way. It doesn't matter what they think in that way. What matters is what's good or bad for you and what you think and the effect on you. That's what matters. So be drastic. Julie says she uses the rule of genuine attitude reflection when trying to determine if I want to be around them. Meaning that you try to determine whether their attitudes are positive or negative, right? Constructive, destructive, upbuilding, or negative. What sort of influence will that have on you? Yep, that's like next level stuff right there, Julie. Yeah. That's where I would like to get everybody to. Now, well, hi there, Nana. Nana just come in. Good to see you. So, learn to identify limitations or expectations or obligations that only exist because you're creating them. Julie, yes, I remember you said that in the last or the previous live stream. We're at 30 minutes. I'm going to go to supporters only on locals. You can join us over there. Go to thelastsymptom.com, go into the paid and free resources tab. You'll find links there for everything, including how to join us on locals. And let me see if I can figure out how to do that. Okay, we're going to go to local supporters only, starting right Now,